Hey everybody, good afternoon. I'm Erin, the owner of Gentle Giraffes Newborn Care and Family Services. Today we're here with Kayla, if I can speak, Kayla Mehr, who is the owner of Your Fit Mom. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how staying fit during pregnancy and actually in postnatally too. And she has a phenomenal online program. So welcome, Kayla. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's awesome to be here with you.
Yes, so tell me a little bit about how, well, first off, I know a little bit about your background just because we've talked a lot too, but you started to become a personal trainer back in college or after college?
Yeah. So I always was pretty active growing up. I liked working out. I did cross country and dance, but I was never super competitive in sports by any means. And I was never really where I wanted to be with my own weight goals. So actually it wasn't until college that I actually did decide to once and for all make a change. And that's, really where my passion for health and fitness began. I started learning smarter ways of working out rather than harder. And I learned a lot about nutrition. And so pairing the two together helped me lose about 30 pounds and keep it off. And people started asking me for help in the gym and help with meeting their goals. And I loved helping other people and I loved being in the gym. So I said, okay, how do I make a career out of this? And I first got certified for group fitness. I started teaching at my college. And then I went into small boot camps. And then right after college, I moved to California and I was working at Equinox in West Hollywood there for a few years. I got my personal training certification as well as many other certifications in my first pre and postnatal. I was there for a few years and it was an awesome learning experience. And then I just wanted to be back to the East Coast, closer to family and friends. And so in 2012, I moved to Boston and was working at a women's only gym there. And that's really where my full exposure to pre and postnatal clients really started to begin. And then just on how I got into the pre and postnatal, I realized that there are so many women when they get pregnant, they're not really sure what to do during pregnancy. So they either A, stop and do nothing at all because they don't want to harm themselves or their baby, or B, they continue doing the same thing they've always done because their doctor tells them, as long as you feel good, keep going. But both are kind of doing them and their babies a disservice. So it's it's so beneficial. It's amazing to continue working out. You really should. However, we need to make changes to accommodate our growing bellies, our bodies, all of the changes that are happening. And so I started realizing that there's a huge need for this information and there's a lack of clarity around it. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of things that people don't understand. And so at this point, I was starting to become, interested in getting pregnant myself as well. So it became a very personal thing for me. So I actually started to dive in and do a ton of research. I got another certification for pre and postnatal, and I really started, interviewing doctors, nutritionists, moms, and learning the things that we really need to do to continue working out, but safely and effectively so that we can have a strong pregnancy, a smoother labor, and then a faster recovery. And so that's really where the pre and postnatal started. And I've been doing it since my son was born in 2018 full time. So now I work exclusively with pre and postnatal clients and helping them work out safely and effectively so that they can work out up until due date if they want, and then bounce back and feel better quickly after.
Which is amazing. And you're so right. Like the amount of misinformation that is out there for women to work out too, because the more I've been in this industry as supporting women, especially postnatally, postpartum wise, and I've talked to them about their labors and stuff, and the ones who have worked out or compared to the ones who haven't, they've all said, the ones that have worked out have all said that their pregnancies got better each time because their body was more in shape, which is crazy to me because you would think that you don't want to put more pressure on your body. But you're right, if you do it the right way, because the way our body does move and change, it's like kind of like anything else. You want to move and change with it too. So you don't want to do the same thing.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about some of the differences that you would do working out, say your abs or, squats or something like that. That would be the difference between someone who's not pregnant and pregnant.
Yeah, of course. So the biggest difference would be core work. So this is something that I really work very closely with my clients on, making sure that, the ab separation that's called Dysthesis Recti or Diastasis Recti, as some people call it, it is going to happen to a certain extent. It's, when your belly and your uterus start to expand, this connective tissue that runs down the center line of your body is designed to stretch. However, if we put too much pressure on our abdominal wall on the front side of it, then that separation is going to increase and increase and increase. And the things that we don't want to happen are, lower back pain, bladder incontinence. For years after, even when people return to their pre-pregnancy weight, they have this kind of soft belly pooch. Those are all things that come with diastasis recti. And so the way I help women work their core really helps either decrease the chances of getting it or decrease it worsening, and help keep their core super strong and recover faster from it. So things that we would do would be two things that I really love, that it's not even really an exercise at all. It's more of a technique, a breathing technique and an activation, are diaphragmatic breathing and transverse abdominis activations. These are two things that we can do, not pregnant all day long if we want. It's just the way we breathe through our belly and the way we activate our core. And it's something that a lot of people aren't really aware of, and they're not sure how to do it. But once they're showed how to do it properly, it can be a game changer with how strong your core is. And then during labor, the diaphragmatic breathing can really help with your pushing. Using diaphragmatic breaths to help push that baby out can be super effective. And then postpartum, doing those two things are safe, even if you're still in the hospital, a couple days postpartum. So it's not something that's like an ab exercise you need to get a clear from. It's just a breathing technique and an activation that you can actually do lying in bed a couple days postpartum. So those are two things that I start with.
Isn't that the breathing though? The way that you're breathing is helping to engage your stomach muscles to be able to connect and keep the core kind of in line. Is that why it's so helpful?
Yes, exactly. So, a lot of people will do, bicycle crunches or sit-ups and crunches, and they're not even activating the right muscle groups. They're just kind of going through the motion. So when you're really able to engage those deep core muscles, your transverse abdominis, that's what's going to help hold everything intact. And your core is like your trunk, everything stems from your trunk, your core. And so it really does help with, almost everything, the way you hold yourself up. And that kind of leads me into another way of changing your program and modifying. So, we have a lot of muscle imbalances when it comes to pregnancy. We become very front heavy. And then postpartum, we spend a lot of time hunched over breastfeeding or bottle feeding. So our back muscles they start to shut off, and our chest gets very tight. And so I love to do a 2-to-1 ratio of back exercises to front exercises. So we make sure that we're stretching out your chest and then activating your back and strengthening up your back so that we can help hold you up taller, have your posture improve, because a lot of times posture is a number one thing that women kind of, their posture starts to decrease. And then a lower back pain, bending over and picking up the baby out of the crib or off the floor. And then, carrying the baby around on your hips. So back pain is a huge thing we work through. And then just different intensity levels, we want to modify accordingly. We still want to get your heart rate up. It's still super safe and totally okay to get your heart rate up and work hard, but we just want to make sure that we're monitoring your body. If anyone's feeling dizzy, lightheaded, nauseous, that we're, being mindful of that and what that looks like for people. But those are probably the three biggest changes I would make.
No, that's awesome. I totally agree with you. I mean, I've never, given birth or anything, but I hold babies all the time. And you're right. I do feel like I'm going forward here and it's very tight here. And I have a personal trainer and he's always trying to get us to stretch back this way and I can feel it. So yeah. I can totally understand somebody who is not familiar with holding a baby and all of a sudden it's really tight, and absolutely, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
which is great. Tell me a little bit about clients that you've worked with that were pregnant and postnatally. How have you seen the difference in both of them? How fast they might have bounced back? How I guess not so much maybe bounce back, but like what you're saying with breastfeeding or even bottle feeding, it doesn't matter. How have they compared to clients that you didn't see beforehand, and then you started training them afterwards, and their upper body you've had to help a little bit more?
Yeah, so the women who I've started during pregnancy, right up until their due date and then postpartum, for a couple ways that I see changes is one, they're already in the habit of staying healthy and fit. So that's a huge thing is, the women who I see who come to me postpartum who didn't have a workout program prior during their pregnancy, a lot of times it takes them longer to get going on it. So they're starting a little bit later than women normally would if they kept active right up until their due date. Especially just really just like also having a plan in place. So being, when I'm with clients up until 40 weeks, and then I know when they have their baby and I know when they're getting that 6-week clearance. So I reach out to them. I reach out to them usually immediately after they give me the news. They tell me the baby was born and I want to hear all about it just because I'm obsessed with all the birth stories. So I keep in touch with them for that. But also I know when they're getting that 6-week clearance. So I usually reach out to them and we get something scheduled on the books sooner rather than later. So that's a big thing, is just being in that routine and making it a habit and a lifestyle so that you can seamlessly go from one to the next. That's been a game changer for people. Also, when people have worked with me through their pregnancy, I know what they've done. And so I know kind of where we're starting at. It can be difficult when people come to me postpartum and they were doing tons of sit-ups or planks or heavy lifting, and that led to Dysthesis Recti. And so now we're trying to rehab their core without, so it kind of, it's like a couple steps back in order to move forward, which it's okay. I'd rather them come to me so that we can heal it and then move through it and progress and move forward from it. However, I would love if somebody could, have a guided program to follow during their pregnancy so that we can kind of not have to worry about all of those things coming up. So that's huge. And then even, going through labor and delivery, there's no guarantees. So somebody who works out during their pregnancy, they can have an amazing labor and delivery. They can have, no tearing. They can have a quick, effective pushes, but there's no guarantees. There are some women that will still push for hours, and sometimes C-sections just happen. There's nothing we can do about it. However, those women who worked out prior, their bodies are just stronger and able to come back a little bit quicker. And it's not necessarily like bouncing back, like getting back to our pre-pregnancy weight the fastest, because there's no magic pill and there's no overnight success with it. It's hard work, and everybody's body is different. I didn't bounce back, with just a couple of weeks. Everybody's body is different. However, the strength that you build and the endurance that you're able to build during pregnancy really does drive home when it comes to recovering faster. Just, your core recovering, your pelvic floor recovering, your body just recovering. So
absolutely. I can totally see that and relate. I've had several knee surgeries from playing soccer and stuff. And I remember having one, doing rehab, and then going in and having the second. And my doctor with the second was like, oh my goodness, this was so much better because you did the rehab. Things were I don't know, more in place or whatever it was. So I can completely see what you're talking about with doing it, working out before to be able to get back. Your body's already on that that process of changing too. And now you just kind of have to start from a better spot is basically what it is.
Exactly.
Which is awesome. That's so great. How, for you, obviously, you are pregnant now with your second, which is awesome. How has this pregnancy with working out, knowing what you've known, because you're in 2 years, 3 years worth of it, but you've also probably trained a lot more women, so you see a variety, but also learn more information. So how does this workout now that you're doing compared to your first?
It's crazy. It's different. It's funny because sometimes you don't realize that how difficult it is. I was super strong going into my first pregnancy, super strong probably even stronger going into my second pregnancy. But I don't feel super strong in my second pregnancy because I have a 35-pound child that I'm chasing around from 5:30 in the morning to 7:30 p.m. So it's a completely different scenario. I'm thankful for having, all of the education around how to work out properly and safely. But it is a big difference because my son is 35 pounds. We're very active together. I'm with him the majority of the week. And it can be challenging chasing after him and picking him up and putting him down and struggling to get his shoes on and his diaper on. And I can feel my core being strained even more than it was in my first pregnancy. And with my first pregnancy, I didn't have to take care of anybody but myself. And so when I wanted to come home and kick my feet up and rest, I had plenty of rest time. And so I had to start making modifications way earlier in my second pregnancy than I would have in my first. And when my first pregnancy, I stopped doing sit-ups, crunches, and twisting by 12 weeks, which is usually what I tell people. But with the second pregnancy, you typically pop faster, like your belly grows at a more of, a rapid rate because your body just knows what to do. And then, so that happening, changes just happening faster paired with like my 35-pound toddler I'm chasing around. I just had to start modifying things. So now I'm, by probably 20 weeks, I was making changes that I had made well into my third trimester already, which is fine. It's totally fine, but it certainly is a difference. And it's a little bit of a kicker. It's like, I was like, I should be able to do this. I should, and I'm probably not working out as many days as I used to, because my constant daily lifestyle is exhausting. I'm walking with him and we're up and down the stairs. And so it's definitely a change. Yeah.
No, that's great though. I would never have even thought that. I mean, I do understand that picking up like a even 20-pound, child is going to make a huge difference, especially because you've got to learn how to pick up correctly and stuff.
Right.
Like you've said, your body shifts and where the weight is and stuff too. But I would never have thought that feeling your core muscles having like change when you do that. That's so interesting.
Well, the crazy thing too is my husband said, well, maybe you shouldn't be working out so much, or you shouldn't, go to the gym. And I realized it's not the gym. Like first of all, I don't lift super heavy when I go to the gym, but when I'm at the gym, I'm breathing into the exercise. I'm engaging my muscles the right way. And then I do my lift and I'm conscious of the movement. However, when I'm at the park with my son and he's running into traffic, I don't have time to think. I just react. And so that's the big difference too, is like, I'm not really conscious of breathing into my muscles and engaging my core and activating them and then doing the lift. I'm like, literally just go. Yeah. So that's like the big difference there too.
Oh yeah, I would never have even thought that, but that makes total sense.
Right? I'm the same.
Tell us a little bit about like nutrition. Like what do you recommend to your clients, both prenatally and postnatally, for nutrition to be able to help them?
Yeah, so I'm not a big like diet person or restrictive person. I'm not I try to say, everything in moderation and a well-balanced meal with the majority of your food being whole, clean ingredients. So as far as nutrition, I say, in that first trimester when you're pregnant, sometimes you just got to get by, so it's going to be higher carb. It's going to be more comfort food. Sometimes you have a sweet tooth. I have a huge sweet tooth. And so my big effort in satiating that sweet tooth is trying to choose foods that are either home baked or, have clean ingredients. And so trying to stay away from just things that come in packages, like plastic bags. Anything that's going to be able to sit on a shelf for months at a time is going to be loaded with ingredients that are not, artificial coloring, artificial sweeteners. They're just not going to be good for you. They're not going to serve you. They're only going to hurt you. And so I try to say, eat when your body is hungry, listen to those cues, eat, don't stress about it too much. Your body's going to do what it's going to do. I am a personal trainer, a nutrition coach, very conscious of my health. And I've gained 12 pounds in each first trimester. And that was something that the doctor told me, you don't need too many extra calories. You don't need to even gain much weight, if any at all, in your first trimester. And I just couldn't get ahead of the hunger. I was starving. And then by the end of my pregnancy, it tapered off, and I ended up gaining, about 35, 37 pounds. So kind of like still right in that recommended. Yep. But I always say, like, if you gain 5 extra pounds, then that's recommended. It's not the end of the world. It's just worry about eating your fruits, your vegetables, your proteins, your healthy carbs. Try to have a well-balanced where half of your plate is, your vegetables. Then we have a quarter of your plate being your protein. And then we have another quarter being, your healthier carbs. So just trying to get like those well-rounded meals. And then postpartum, the same thing. I always say, don't, especially if you're breastfeeding, you don't want to be dieting right away, if at all. Your body's going to need those calories. So, having foods, I have a list of foods that I give my clients that, have the recommended vitamins that we should be getting more of for pre and postnatal, and then where we can find these foods. So, oats are going to be great for the milk production. So having foods that are, carbs are not the devil. Your body needs carbs and energy, but making sure that we're getting all of the necessary vitamins through different types of foods. So that's usually what I'll tell people. And if people, and some of my clients like to log their food and be held accountable, and if they want me to check that for them, I'm happy to, but I'm not a huge fan of tracking your calories or tracking your food. I'd rather my clients be able to eat intuitively. When they're hungry, they eat. And as long as it's kind of an 80-20 rule, if 80% of the time you're eating healthy food, and then 20% of the time you're just having fun and enjoying your meals, because that's what, life is about.
Absolutely. And especially, you're right though. With my clients, I try to tell them the same thing. I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, so they don't probably listen to me as much as they would you. But when you are breastfeeding, it's recommended to have an extra 500 calories a day, because you got to understand your body is going to take that nutrients in, but then your body's going to take it out because the baby needs it, and it turns into what the baby needs. So you need to produce that. Plus, like, you need your healthy fats to be able to help with the breast milk. So the breast milk gets fat, so the baby gets their fat. Because if you really want to take it down too, brain growth is based on omega-3s and fat and stuff too. So, you want to eat. And there's so many moms that just want to have their salad so that they can lose the weight. And it's like, nope, we got to get you the right food. So I'm glad that you give your clients, a list of good food, and you talk to them about it, because it's so important that they do eat.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I want to say thank you so much for, joining us today. Where can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I hang out all day on Instagram. That's probably the number one place that I could be most responsive. My handle is at Kayla_Mehr_. So it's my name with underscores in between. And then my website is yourfitmom.com. So www.yourfitmom.com. And my name is Kayla Mehr. You can email me as well. hello@yourfitmom.com. So I'm always around.
Awesome.
Not hard to get a hold of.
I always love talking to you. I think you're a wealth of information, especially when we met a couple of years ago. I was so excited. I still have the information that you gave me too. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure, and can't wait to see you and talk to you again soon.
I can't wait to see your new little one.
I know. You'll be helping there.
Thanks.